Hello, Dream Chasers. This is Jacquelynn Peterson at Joyful Living Mindset, and you're listening to Chasing Dreams with Amy J.
Perfect. All right, my turn. Hey, Dream Chasers, this is Amy J, and thank you guys so much for tuning in to episode 214 of Chasing Dreams, and Happy New Year. I know this is the second episode of 2020. I just want to say Happy New Year again to you guys. Hopefully, it is off to a great start. I am trying to make it a better start by bringing Jacquelynn here, who's going to help talk a little bit about her story, her background, and hopefully give you guys some tips on kicking off the new year right. So, Jacquelynn, thank you so much for being on the show.
Absolutely. It's such an honor to be here. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it was a pleasure. Yeah, I thought, as we're kicking off a new year, nothing better to talk about than mindset, right? And so
Absolutely.
before we go into that, regardless of the topic, I always want to know, what was it that young Jacquelynn wanted to be when she was a child or a teenager? What were her dreams?
Oh gosh, that um, it varied a lot, and honestly, my very initial thoughts that I wanted to be was a psychologist because I was actually always and just kind of I'm going full circle. I'm realizing now I've always been very fascinated with human behaviors, like what
Hmm.
caused someone to think the way that they do and behave the way that they do, because it's different for everybody. And I've just always been very fascinated with that. So that was probably my initial dream. And then as kind of young, entering college, I thought about being an attorney. I know that you had a background in that, and
Hmm.
and it was more of watching, like, I know it's kind of silly, like Legally Blonde, right? And it was just like you see that glamour and just how fun and how cute those little their outfits are. I didn't really know much about, like, I've heard you talk about like how intensive the law degree is, and
Hmm.
that industry and that line of work. And then just through my personal life, I just kind of like gradually gravitated towards mindset because I was searching for myself for a way to feel better every day and be happy and inspire others and help others and add a positive impact to everyone that I encounter. And that just kind of evolved, and that's the one thing that just stuck with me and
Mm.
evolved with me over time.
It's interesting that you say that because, I was going to go one way, but I think based on what you were saying, a question I have is, you know, because I have never heard, you're the first, congratulations, the first to tell me that, as a young child or a teenager, psychology was something you were interested in. And there's nothing wrong with
Yeah.
that, guys. I just haven't run into enough people. But that's intriguing to me because it sounds like there's been a thread in your life with that. But what was it? Because I'm sure you've had other thoughts, other careers that have kind of piqued your interest or
Hmm.
thought about it. What was it? What moment, if there was one or many, that kind of said, yeah, mindset, and this is really the thing I need to be focusing on?
I think it was probably an accumulation of my personal life experience, to be honest.
Hmm.
So I grew up, just a little background. I grew up in, what I don't know what the correct terminology was, kind of like a broken family where my parents were divorced,
Hmm.
and so and I also was the only girl in out of like five brothers. So, as immigrant parents, my dad and he was always working. Like he was the one, providing for the family. My stepmom was home taking care of, the four of us at that time. And I was always kind of left alone. I didn't have like my biological mother. Like I didn't have that mother-daughter relationship. And my brothers wanted nothing to do with a sister. They didn't really know how to deal with me. And so, and my stepmom, I mean, she was young and she was stepping into the role of all at once being a mom to four kids. It was quite overwhelming for her. So we didn't get a chance to develop that mother-daughter relationship with her. And my dad, obviously, he was always busy working like multiple jobs just to provide for the family. Um, And I was always left alone, and I had to learn how life worked on my own. Like if I had a bad day, I had to kind of use what I now understand as self-talk. I learned the concept of self-talk at an early age because I only had myself and my stuffed animals, if you'll believe it, and inanimate objects around my room and whatnot to kind of keep me company and talk me through some rough days on my own. And because I was also very sheltered, being the only girl in an Asian family, I was very sheltered. I wasn't allowed to go out and experience life the way that my brothers did. And so my way of experiencing, observing life was through television, to shows and whatnot. So, and then watching from one show to another and seeing different people, different roles, and seeing how they interact with one another and the varying degrees of their interaction and the decisions that they make, how they behave, how they react. All of that really fascinated me. And so I think that was really how my interest and my love for human psychology and the mind, how the mind works and how the mind drives human behaviors started.
Well, let's go back to something you said that some people may not understand or know. What can you describe what is self-talk?
Yeah, self-talk is really like the inner dialogue that you have with yourself,
Hmm.
right? And sometimes you may not be aware of it because it goes on all the time. Like everybody has this inner dialogue that goes on all the time. And if it unfortunately a lot of time if you don't keep it in check, it's mostly negative, right? It's always the one that's giving you that self-doubt and that fear and that self-doubt and that feeling of unworthiness and whatnot. So that that self-talk and leveraging your mindset to really kind of catch that and saying, hey, what I just thought, this thought that I just had about myself or about this thing that I'm thinking about, does it really feel good to me? So, what would make me feel better? Right. And so just by kind of accident and just how life experience, I trained myself, that's practicing that self-talk at an early age to develop my mindset so that I can be resilient, I can be strong, and I can be there for myself and guide me through life experiences, even if I felt that I was alone and there's nobody there that I could kind of look up to or lean on to guide me.
So for those who are listening and just realizing that that they've been doing self-talk or you know what self-talk is, you talked about building it for yourself. How
Hmm.
can us dream chasers, as we're having self-talk, how can we fight against negative self-talk? What are some examples of positive self-talk, and how can we build our fortitude and mental strength as you did when you were younger?
Yeah, and again, I would go back to your feelings, right? And how the thought makes you feel, right? So let's say if you are having a negative self, let's say if you are, if you see, you're chasing your dream, you see this dream job or this dream career or business that you want to pursue. And then, instantaneous almost, you'll hear this little dialogue in the back of your mind, and you hear this little voice saying, oh, you'll never get there, or you don't have enough experience,
Yeah.
or you're not good enough, or it's all of that coming to you. And when you hear that, it does kind of stop you in your tracks and you're like, oh my god, yeah, what am I thinking? I'm this is just like I'm just dreaming. I could never do that, right? But when you sit back, when you're in that situation, and you sit back and you're like, well, does it does it feel good to continue believing in that? Or is it, let's say, for instance, like in my case, personal experience, I, my most of my career early on in the corporate world has been in the financial industry. I'd never had any experience in any other industry, and so I was approached by this job offer in a healthcare industry. So my initial reaction was, well, I don't have any experience in the healthcare industry. Why would they want me, right? Um, but I remember sitting, preparing for that interview and going through that process. I said, I don't have experience in the interview. That's a fact, true, right? However, somebody thought that my skill sets were valuable enough to reach out to me and inquire about that. So there must be something that they're looking for that I can help provide, right? That I have something that I
Did you
can provide.
did you actually say that in the interview?
No, no, no.
Oh,
This
but
is
you said that to
me.
yourself.
Yes, I said that to
Oh,
myself.
okay.
Yes, yes,
I was
and
like,
just walked me through.
wow. I was like,
No,
whoa.
yeah, no, no,
That's
no. Yeah, but I was kind of preparing myself for that
yeah.
interview, and talking myself through that. And you got
Well,
to differentiate between fact and your assumption, right?
mm,
The fact is, I didn't have experience in that, but the assumption part was they'll never hire me because I don't have experience, right? So you have to be able to differentiate what's fact and what are assumptions, and you can acknowledge the fact. But because the other ones are just assumptions, then you can just assume. Why not assume things that are positive that will serve you instead?
that's good. That's a great point because I think, automatically when you said that, right? I don't have experience. My assumption is they won't hire me.
Hmm.
Well, I think oftentimes, especially with self talk, negative self talk, or even just us figuring out these things, we're so, and I don't know why it is, we're so conditioned to jump to the negative of it that we forget that the positive is there,
Yeah,
right? That's never, it's not that it's not on the table. We just don't look at it or
yeah,
consider it or give it value.
yeah.
So, does it take practice in positive self talk to kind of get into that habit of starting to look at the positive versus the negative?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And because it's just think of it like your mind is you go to the gym and you work out your muscles, right? And your mind is just another muscle. And so you have to constantly work at it and like give your mind a workout so that it's used as kind of breaking the habits of just always gravitating towards the negative and listening to the negative. And as you engage in practices that help create that sense of inner peace and that um, alignment, you'll start to feel more inspired, you'll feel more uplifted, and over time the negative voice will be drowned out by your positiveness, right? But like I said, it takes time. It doesn't happen overnight. And even myself, I mean, I've been practicing this for, gosh, over 16 years, and I still have days
Mm.
when I have negative self-talk, and that negative side is winning more than the positive, and I literally have to kind of like sit myself out and just have a candid talk with myself. It's like, Jacquelynn, what are you doing? It's like, you know better than this. These thoughts that you're having does not serve you. Like, why would you focus on that? So instead, why would you not focus? So wherever you're at right now, what's a better feeling thought? Anything, right? Just reach for anything that feels better than what this immediate thought that you're having. And then little by little, you kind of like climb your way out of that negative mode and mindset, and then you start to shift more positive. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, so that wasn't too a big
Yeah,
deal. Like, why was I making a big fuss over that
right.
or whatnot?
Yeah, it's a great point. And I think we do it to ourselves so often and so quickly. Like I think sometimes, and let me know if you think you disagree, but I think that we are often our own worst enemy because of that negative self-talk
Yeah.
and the assumptions we make. I mean, it can be very damaging. So you I think that's awesome that you had that self-talk and that you kind of helped with that and that you kind of went towards this mindset um direction, right? So when did you had that moment where you kind of like, hey, mindset's important, let me do this. When did it become, because you worked in the finance district,
Hmm.
why wasn't that your main goal, mindset versus finance? Like what happened
Yeah,
there with that dichotomy?
I know. Yeah, it's a huge jump, right?
It's different.
Yeah. So it's funny because you know, growing up from, I shared earlier, my immigrant family,
Hmm.
and it was like going to school, getting good grades, going to college, getting a good job, climbing the corporate ladder. That was our prescription for success, right? For myself and for all of my
The
siblings,
immigrant dream.
right? Right.
I get it.
And so I followed that, and
Mhm.
and I did the best I could to follow that. But I realized that over the years, even as I was climbing up the ladders, I felt like I was not getting any happier or more fulfilled. And it got to a point where I felt like, oh, for many years, I was just like drifting through life. I was just like playing like a script. There's a script that I was just like
Yeah.
playing out, and it got to a point where I didn't even recognize my own life anymore or myself anymore. And I kind of lost focus on what it is that I really wanted. And I really, honestly, I didn't really know. I just thought, wake up, go to work, come home, take care of the family,
Hmm.
and that was it. And it got to the point where, it was 2012 when I actually got laid off for the very first time at my job. And that was like the rug being pulled from underneath me, because that was all that I knew. Yeah, that was my life up until that point. That was my identity and
Hmm.
everything. And my initial reaction was, I've got to get back into the workforce. So it's like I just like was chained to my laptop and for hours on applying to any job. I was desperate to get back into the workforce, and nothing seemed to work. And at one point I said, you know what, I give up. I literally remember myself declaring that I
Wow.
give up, because whatever I was doing was not working.
Right.
So the universe, or the powers that be, obviously wanted me to take this time to really take a deep look at my life and at myself, and what are my next steps? Where do I want to head from here? And it was that point that I asked myself this question that just completely changed the course of my life. And it was simply, if money and resources were not an issue, what would I want to do with my life? And
Wow.
yeah, it's a very simple question.
It is.
And at that time, it seemed kind of illogical, because I was laid off, and oh, by the way, I was also over $150,000 in debt, between mortgages and
Hmm.
everything. um, and at that point, it's like I knew that I wanted to do business, because I grew up helping my family manage and run their small businesses throughout my growing up. And so I had that entrepreneurial side. I just didn't know what kind of business. And so I reframed it to say, okay, so I know that it's business. So if money and resources were not an issue, what kind of business would I open? Would I want to start? And it was allowing myself that space to put aside all logic, take money out of the equation, and just let myself dream limitlessly, and just say, if I can make anything happen, what would I do? And that was what I came up with. I wanted to create a physical space, and what I call a haven of well-being,
Mm.
for others to come and escape like any struggles and challenges and harshness of the world, and feel welcomed and not feel judged, and feel and invite them into a space where they can just be themselves and reconnect with themselves, and feel inspired, uplifted to become their best version of themselves and live their best life. And that was the business that my dream business, that was
Right.
my vision. And that was where the mindset came, because I wanted to help people shift their mindset so that they could become the best version of themselves and live their best life.
So you have this revelation, because
Hmm.
that's what it sounds like essentially,
Yeah.
is revelation, right? What do you do with that? Because I know there's two ways to go about it. You have the revelation and you're like, well, that's a nice dream. It's not going to happen. Keep on moving, applying to jobs. Then there's the other side, right? How did you fall once you had that thought?
Well, it was funny because, like I said, I defied logic a little bit at that time.
Hmm.
And even though I was out of a job, I was in, massive financial debt, but I didn't allow that to stop me from dreaming, because for the first time, that dream, I was so excited, and there was something activated in me. And so I just honestly just milked that feeling for as long as it lasted. And I just kind of did a data dump. I kept thinking about it. I kept dreaming about it, and I kept evolving it, and kept feeling better and better, and feeling more and more excited and enthusiastic about that. And of all the teachings that I've followed over the years, especially, with the law of attraction and whatnot, I know that your feelings and your thoughts generate feelings, and then that was how manifestation starts, right? And so I knew that all of this accumulation and consistent great feeling that I was experiencing, it's got to lead to somewhere. And once in a while, thoughts of logical questions come in. It's like, okay, so you have this great dream. It's like you said, great. Well, how is it going to happen?
Mm.
Like, where are you going to find the money and the resources to build this business and whatnot? And whenever those questions peeped in, I kindly acknowledged it. And I said, you know what? I don't know at this point, but that's not something I need to worry about right now. Right now, I'm just going to focus on clarifying and defining this dream, this vision of mine as best as I can. Right. And, I resorted to my meditation practice and visualizing my dream and my vision of this dream business as often as I could. And it was through that that led me from all of a sudden job offers coming out of the blue. I didn't even have to look for them. It would offer them better than what I was even making before, I got laid off. And just magical things just started rolling in one by one. And it was just like this inspired thing, like, hey, are you interested in that? And just taking the inspired action and seeing where it leads you led to one thing after another.
So let's back up just a little bit.
Sure.
So you have that manifestation, you have that change in perspective. Did you do anything, or was it just timing and God for these offers to come? I,
Yeah,
like, did you change something or?
I I did, and
Okay.
it's gonna sound really silly and unbelievable, but what I did was I simply chillaxed. Literally. I and that's not me, because I'm usually like go, go, go and
Right.
overachiever and pushing myself hard. And I remember at that period in my life, I just said, you know what? I love how I'm feeling. This is feeling good. I'm just going to keep leading following these breadcrumbs. And I just relaxed more. I meditated more. And obviously throughout the day, I'd still like get up and do things that are responsible. I
Sure.
volunteered. I just kept doing things that would bring me more happiness, bring me more joy. And I volunteered. I engaged in hobbies that I never had a chance to before. And I was just happy all the time,
Mm.
every single day. And just from that, I just started experiencing I feel like the whole world just kind of like shifted
Mm.
and responded to me differently, right? And it was through my volunteering actually that, helping out at a networking event that, one of the people that I casually met, I didn't even really know this person that well right then, that she reached out to me and offered me the job, to get back into the job. At first, I wasn't sure that's what I
Yeah.
wanted to do because I already
Yeah.
had my dream business. But I remember telling myself, I said, this is opportunity knocking, right? This is an inspired thought, right? It's coming for a reason. So why don't I just answer that and see where that door leads me?
Hmm.
And that's really what I did. I just took an inspired action to answer an email, and
So
one thing led to another.
I love this story, and I hope you guys are hearing it because there's so many nuggets that are coming out that you guys can take. One, positive self talk, right? We've talked about that. Your mindset, manifesting, and the thing about the manifesting that's interesting to me is sometimes we work so hard and we push so fast and just push and we're like,
Right.
why won't this come? And the moment we let up, the moment
Yep.
we chillax, right, as Jacquelynn did
Yep.
for herself, um, change happens.
Yes.
Amazing things can happen. And I think, guys, if you're listening, um, changing your mindset, changing your perspective are powerful things that can make a huge difference in any part of what you're doing. I mean, I think the key thing to also take away from what Jacquelynn was saying is you were happy outside of your occupation, the volunteering, the work you were doing, your day job is not what defines you. It's a part of it, but
Right.
it's not the full definition. And the fact that you found ways to make yourself happy, and you said it, you were happy
Hmm.
without the job, was just another reason for the job to come about. And I think sometimes we put so much, all our eggs in that one basket for that one job, for that perfect moment, that you forget life is made up of more than just that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome, Jacqueline. That is like phenomenal how that worked out for you.
Yeah, it really did. And like I said, it's a lot of, like you said earlier, a lot of us are so trained and accustomed to just pushing ourselves and taking action,
Mhm.
and I got to do this, and I got to do that, and just pushing ourselves all the time. But we don't take the time to do that inner reflection, and asking ourselves, is that like a hard push action? Like, does it feel hard? Or is that like a fun and inspired action to take? Because there's a difference, right? There's a difference between a hard action and an inspired action. The inspired action, when you take it, things unravel like almost magically. Like it happens like almost effortlessly. So like I share with you, like back then I was like over $150,000 in debt, right? And because I had that shift in my perspective and my focus, and within, I think, like probably less than 3 years, because of all of these opportunities that just presented themselves to me one after another, like seriously, that job offer, and then getting promoted a year and a half later, and within a span of 1 year, I think I was like between getting promoted and getting more job offers like 3 different times,
Mm.
like increased my salary like 66% in like a span of 1 year. Honestly, I'm not anything special or magnificent that I could, create this. It's just purely I just reflected back and did the work to shift my mindset and shift my focus and allow all these amazing things to come into my life experience.
Hey guys, as we're kicking off 2020, it's still early, right? We're only a few weeks in. I wanted Jacqueline on the show mostly because listen to what she's gone through. Listen to her story. You guys can make that difference and have that change just as much. So Jacqueline, for these guys who are listening and maybe in a situation that their dreams aren't working, or if something's not clicking, or they're in a day job and they don't realize that this isn't making them happy, right? Or they're chasing something that that's not right for them, whatever the case is. You talked about self-reflection, you talked about, kind of changing. What would you recommend to these guys as this new year? It's a good time to start as any, right? What would you tell to somebody who's struggling with chasing their dream right now and saying, hey, this isn't working, what should I do?
Sure. And I love that you asked this question because I've asked myself that question for many
Mm,
years previously too. So I know that, this affects a lot of people. And for what I would say is that it starts by having clarity on what your ideal life is. Like, what is your dream or ideal life? What is it that you really want? Because without that clarity, your life, many challenges and distractions, going to pull you in so many different directions, right? And it's going to exhaust your time, it's going to exhaust your resources, it's going to exhaust your energy, and then you're going to be left feeling overwhelmed and unfulfilled and frustrated. But if you take the time to find clarity on what is it that you really want in life, what is your ideal vision of your life is, coming from, and I actually have this on my website because I created this guide because I want more and more people to be able to find their clarity and their life vision to guide them. Because once you have that guide and that vision, it in turn becomes a beacon that guides you through life and helps you with the decision making process, whether that be weighing different opportunities. Should I take this job, or should I go into business? Should I, or even relationship, should I be with this person, or not? And it guides you because the the clarity of that life vision is in the guide that I'll show you on my website. it's all inclusive. It's not just about a career or about a relationship, but it goes through, it's like 4 different pillars of fulfillment is what I call it, right? You have to have clarity on what you're passionate about, first and
Okay.
foremost, right? And you also have to have clarity on what kind of person do you want to be, right? Or become. And what impact do you want to make, to others, because that's where we find meaning and purpose, right? And then the last is, what kind of lifestyle do you want to live? And so defining those 4 different areas of your life is, then it unravels this kind of life vision for yourself, and then you use that to guide it. So when you have like opportunities come up, you're going to ask yourself, okay, so if I take this job, is it aligned with my life vision? And if it's no, then you know that that's probably not the best decision for you to make, or the right fit for you right now, at least, right? It helps kind of alleviate that second guessing and that should I or should I and shouldn't I in your life.
Guys, I love that she kind of broke it down for you step by step, right? For you to follow. And the thing I want to also just caution you on is, it's very easy to look at someone else's life and say that this is what I want for me. You don't know what they went through to get that. You don't know what that life entails. You can use it as inspiration, but what is it you want? Not what is it that that person wants, and I'm just going to take it. If you've ever seen The Italian Job?
No.
So The Italian Job was remade originally a long time ago, and it was 2000 something. The recent remake with Mark Wahlberg and a bunch of people. And one of the bad guys, they're doing a bank heist, and everybody's like, this is what I want with my money. This is what I want with my money. And the last guy, of course, is like, I don't know. I'm just going to take a little bit of everyone else's. And everyone knew, like, man, come up with your own stuff. What is, so same for you guys. What is your vision, your clarity?
Mhm.
Because just because it's for someone else doesn't mean it's fit for you. And sometimes you might be misconstruing your own vision with theirs, thinking it's yours, but is it really? Really? So that's something to
Absolutely.
ask, right?
Yeah,
Me,
absolutely. I love that you just said that, because you are right. We are very different from every person, right? Our vision is our own authentic vision. We
yeah.
can't use others' life vision, and it could, like you said, beautifully said, it could be a source of inspiration, but we shouldn't be striving to achieve someone else's life vision, because we have our own life vision. Because at the end of the day, we are the author of our own life story, right? Now, no one can write our life story. We are the author of our own life story.
I couldn't wrap that up better. Like that's, yeah, absolutely. And I hope you guys get that. I mean, that's the whole idea about this show and the podcast and what we do and what I do is, you guys are enough how you are. You don't have to be someone else. So just remember that. Remember what Jacquelynn said, okay? So, Jacquelynn, before I let you go, we got to do a few things. We
Sure.
got to get to know you a little bit better.
Okay.
All right. So, let's pull out the cards. These are 5 random questions to get to know you a little bit better. All right. Ready?
Sure.
Question number 1. Would you rather be lucky or wise?
I would rather be wise,
Ooh, why is that?
because I feel that if you can't control luck,
Hmm,
but if you have wisdom, it could help bring about more lucky instances, if you will, like, more miraculous or joyful moments in your life.
I like that. I like that. I would do wisdom too. All right, number 2. Uh, okay, can't really ask that one. It only works for single people. All right, ready? Okay. How do you act when you're angry?
Oh boy. So I am, my Chinese zodiac sign is a dragon, right? So when I'm, and I'm also a fire element, so I'm a fiery dragon. So it's not a very good sight when I'm angry.
It's
Um,
accurate?
It is, yeah. It's very accurate. I'm very emotional, and I'm a fire dragon. Let's just put it that way. And so my poor husband and son can attest to that. But they help keep me in check.
All right. It gave me quite the visual. All right.
Yeah.
Number 3. What's the prettiest landmark in America? I don't know what I'd say for that.
Ooh, wow. That would be a tough one.
Yeah, I don't know what I would say for that.
I know that would be so tough because you have Niagara Falls, right?
The American side.
On Yeah, the American side, right? Um, and then you have, I think one of my girlfriends just recently did a trip in Utah. She was sending me a picture of this lake. I forgot what it's called, but oh my gosh, it was breathtaking. Um, so I don't know. That's a tough one. I don't know if I could give one answer for that. There's just so much
Yeah,
beauty to
that's
observe.
admittedly, you know what? I'm allow that because I do think it is a tough question.
Yeah.
I'm allow you to skip that.
Okay.
But you also named 2. So, guys, I mean, those are good ones. Those are good ones.
Yeah.
All right, number 4. What was your best vacation ever?
Oh, I think my best vacation ever was probably our Mediterranean cruise that we took probably about 3 summers ago.
Ooh.
It was, oh my gosh, it was fantastic. We flew over to Barcelona and stayed in Barcelona for a couple days before the cruise, and then we jumped on the cruise ship. I think at that time, Carnival Vista just came out. So we jumped on like a brand new cruise ship in Barcelona, went to um, Naples, Sicily, Rome, Florence, and France, and another island in Spain. It was heavenly. It was
Oh,
heavenly.
that's on my list. That's on my list. That's on my list. That sounded
Yeah,
amazing. All
it
right,
it was.
last question. Number 5. What do you eat in the middle of the night?
Ooh. Um, well, that's kind of hard because I don't eat in the middle of the night.
If you woke up,
Um,
what would you probably get? What kind of snacker are you?
I tend to gravitate towards salty and sour. I'm not a sweets person.
What kind of combo would that be?
I know.
Salty and
So
sour.
chips, what I
All
love
right,
chips.
I got it.
I love sour gummy candies or fruit. I love, like, I would rather
Oh,
have a
okay.
Granny Smith than a Red
Okay.
Delicious.
All right. This is fair. I mean, these are
Yeah,
your choices. These are fair.
yeah.
All right. That's fair. All right. Jacquelynn, let me ask you before I let you go, what is one thing you would recommend that these guys listening, these dream chasers, do today to chase their dream?
Oh, that's a great question. And I would say again is that take the time to find clarity on what your life vision and ideal life for you is, right? For you specifically, like we talked earlier, right? Because if we don't know what it is that we want and where we want to head and be grounded in the why of that, life's challenges and distractions can easily just whisk us off and pull us in so many different directions. And like I said, leave us feeling overwhelmed, frustrated, and unfulfilled.
So
So
true.
if we have that vision and we're grounded in the why of that, it keeps us grounded and steady navigating through life.
So true. So true. Jacquelynn, amazing conversation. Where can these guys go to connect with you?
Sure. Well, I have a website. It's joyfullivingmindset.com. And I also have a Facebook group as well, Joyful Living Mindset as well on Facebook. So those are probably my 2 main areas to find me and my work
Awesome,
and
guys.
connect with me.
Connect with Jacquelynn. You can find all of those links and contact information and more about Jacquelynn on the show notes page at amyj21.com/episode 214. That's episode 214. And Jacquelynn, thank you so much again. And guys, remember, you are awesome, you are loved, you are needed, and most importantly, you are enough. All right. So till next time, don't stop. Keep chasing.